never seen that done before.
Oh my God. We do wedding venues. Because they're very beautiful, color trussels.
I don't think that is. Could I see my report based on
Sunday, Pam Helming is coming August 11.
or to the car? Today.
Good.
Today, yeah.
Good.
Really late out of time, so.
Two people in the audience, wow. How many online?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Must install this Kevin. That might be Kevin.
Yeah, that's probably Kevin.
You need a bigger screen TV. It can be a write-off, you know.
We need technology that consistently works.
No kidding. And everyone's the same. That would help old people like us a whole lot. Speak for myself, right?
Stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
To the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is to approve the April 7th emergency meeting minutes.
So
All in favor?
moved. Aye.
Second order is to approve the April 21st regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. My report, this says no change in the ready projects, but we have found that one of the floodgates in the Greg Street setup has failed. Contractor's been notified, they've been given a proposed solution and asked for a target date and when it'll be fixed. In the meantime, they put up a plug. It's the pipe that runs from the drainage system out to the bay. It's the gravity drain. So that gravity drain is plugged down there right now. The rest of the projects are no real difference from last month. Our water level today was 246.59, so we're going down. We appear to have crested at 246.75, which is 2/100ths less than the Army Corps said we would crest at, which I find amazing. So we'll see. Now we're back to using the system as just gravity going out. Street lights, the poles and lights on fairways were put in. The lights on Margaretta were also put in this week. Those are going to need to be moved to the new poles once the new poles that RG&E is playing with are installed. The contractor asked RG&E to do that. If they don't, which they haven't any other one, so I don't know why we would think they would move those, but if they don't, moving them is part of our maintenance agreement. The next step.
Show you muted.
Pardon? We have sound coming from a different computer, the install computer. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Chris?
I think not.
The lights are on, right?
Yeah, it's lighting up. Can you hear us, Chris?
Sue, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
All right. The next step is for RG&E to hook up the power. RG&E had asked that the lights go up first and then they will install the power. So they've been notified and hopefully that will happen soon. Still Shore Road at this point, and we have no easement to discharge the stormwater. So balance of that project is on hold until that's resolved with the residents. I do have a tentative meeting Saturday with one of the residents. We'll see if that meeting actually happens. Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, the final report for improving municipal coastal resilience across the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence, which is something that I've worked on for the past year plus, was completed and was published. It's also on our website for anybody that's interested. This group will continue to meet over the next 12 months and begin to work on implementation of some of those ideas. This is a international plan, so there's both Canadian ideas, there's US ideas, and there's some for both countries to do. And I will be the vice chair of the group working on that for the next year. Under new business, I'm asking for some support to go to the annual conference, which is in June. So we'll do that when we get there. On our New York Main Street project, where we paid a couple $1,000s to have an environmental determination done. This is what $2,000 buys you. Obviously, there's no issues. If anybody wants to look at this, it's in the village office. The next step on that project is to issue the bid specs for the dining shelters. On the Storm Act, which is something I don't think we've talked about here before, but a couple years ago, the federal government passed a law regarding the Storm Act, where somewhere between $100 and $500 million was going to be allocated through FEMA to go to states to begin to take care of properties that needed to be protected against hazards. This is more than just flood, so it applies to people in the they get tornadoes and things like that. It applies to floods on all the coasts, all the way around the country. But in order to access that money, each state had to set up their own program to administer the money through. So when we started to talk to New York State, really nobody had heard of it. Although Pam Helming had been at a meeting and realized, yeah, she'd heard about it at that meeting she was at. So we asked her to sponsor a bill in the state Senate. One of the things they did in her meeting was create a national template for such a bill. So she and Senator Breslin have introduced a bill in the Senate. And there is also an Assembly bill. Brian is one of the co-sponsors, but there's a powerful Democrat also as a co-sponsor to the bill. And that's important because if our two representatives are the only ones sponsoring the bill, nothing's going to happen. But Pam told us today there's a really good chance that it will pass this year. So we'll see what happens. It lets you, it creates low interest loans for most people. If you're significantly disadvantaged, it can be turned into a grant. The interest rate is low. It becomes like a mortgage. So it can be over 30, maybe even 40 years. All of that stuff has to be worked out between FEMA and New York State.
Dave, what's the name of that bill?
Storm Act.
Okay, thank you.
And then the Willow Park camera will be installed on the information center next Thursday.
Oh, that's good
This
time.
will let us keep the bathrooms open 24/7 throughout the summer. Once that's up, Spectrum will be in to install internet service so we can access the cameras from here. That'll also let us set up a public Wi-Fi hotspot there as well. So that will not be in place next week, but the camera will be there and it will be recorded. So,
I have a question on that, Dave.
yep.
Nobody really keeps their bathrooms open after the park closes. Is it a good idea?
Well, we seem to have trouble opening and closing them, so
We haven't hired anybody?
No, and that would be somebody like early in the morning and late at night to do it, sort of like a bus driver. So we'll try 24/7 and see what happens.
Is it paid or unpaid?
It would be a paid position.
I'll volunteer, I'm up at 5 every morning.
How late do you go to bed?
Oh, very early. Especially on Thursday, Friday, Saturday when I drink.
All right,
I said only open.
all right,
Only open.
all right. Well, we'll certainly talk more about that.
Okay.
For the water department, Nate's been turning on water at the cottages as they request. He filled out the annual water quality report for his first time, filled out the state report, took the THM and HAA5 samples and sent those to the lab. They repaired a water main on Sill Shore Road a couple days ago. Turned the water on for the restrooms in the park, discovered a couple leaks, which will get fixed next week. Started flushing hydrants. One of the new telephone poles on 14 was put through the sewer main. So he and Jeff repaired that yesterday after they moved the pole, and he's replaced some water meters as he will continue to do throughout the summer. Wastewater, Calcino service the generators. Took the sewer cleaner to Great Lakes Equipment for service and a tune-up. Installed the new sewer lateral in the wet well for Lake Road 2, which is the house just as you leave the village. He removed 32 inches of superheat from the digester and pressed for 2 days last week. No wipes down the pipes. Bill?
The only thing I've got tonight is Art and I are going to talk when we're done here is about our parking guru or attendant or whatever you want to call them downtown. We'll get something fired up here. They're talking about, I see you had an email out there about going over or reassessing the parking downtown. So that's going to be something else we'll have to kind of get blended into this as well. So, but that's all I've got for that.
Two. In terms of Jennifer's report, she's got several sponsors for the Soda Point and Lighthouse Splash. They do need a few more sponsors. So if anybody knows any business that's willing to contribute some money, they're looking for that. Wayne County Bicentennial Float will be here to support the Kitty Parade on July 3rd and be here for the splash, probably Labor Day, although I think they have a conflict that day. The Point Mercantile had its soft opening. Grand opening is planned for Memorial Day. Freedom Boat Club of Sodas Point, their grand opening was last weekend. And Sodas Bay Outfitters did a preview in support of the Freedom Boat Club opening. Their grand opening is Memorial Day weekend. Doug?
The ambulance, they're up to 91 calls so
Yes.
far this year.
Yeah.
Month April, 21 emergency responses, 12 assisted by ALS. Bringing that total to 91. Being a little longer for new application review as well. The info on stack. Looking at putting a fundraising board on the station, which will show the balance of the ambulance fund. This will be decided at the board meeting. WN25 was sent in for maintenance, had a major alignment problem. Phil's told me that's been partially corrected. It's back in service. We'll have to go back in to get the shocks and springs and a couple other things updated, but much less than we thought the bill was going to be. So that's a good thing. Highway department, they finished brush pickup for the month of May. They had the big pile down there, Featherly. That's going to end up being moved somewhere behind the barns or something eventually. Not exactly 100% sure where that brush pile is going to end up. Plow trucks have going through their motions. Everything's stripped off and getting ready for next year. Trying to jump on that. And got the Central Ave Drainage Project set to start again any day for the final work to be completed. And the bid specs for WA 30 yearly maintenance of the flower beds drawn up for review. Next brush pickup will be June 6th. Lori?
The CEC updates on the climate smart communities. All the grants are written at this point. We're trying to work out some of the things that we need. We do have some concern expressed by the museum people in parking, and I'll be addressing that this week. I got that today while I was out working. I think the concerns are legitimate. So my question on that is, are we going to eventually have to have an approval on those for the board to submit them, or do the grants just go in and we see how we make out?
Well, first we need the DEC grants to go
Right.
with them.
Right.
And then, yes, they should come.
Okay, so they're okay to go before to see where we,
Yeah,
okay,
we
So
just
you'll-
need to get the DEC.
okay. Then the benchmarking for that has been sent into Emily, who is a coordinator for RG&E, and I want to thank Melanie and Kevin for providing that information to them. I haven't had an update on it, but I will be calling next week on it. The other thing is, now that the streetlights are done, which I had just been thinking about putting in for it before the money dries up or something happens, I want to get in line for that, are done, so, or close to done. And so I just need the information on those so that I can get that paperwork submitted. Or if you submit the paperwork, Kevin, that's fine. Yesterday when we met, we didn't have that.
For CC.
Yeah,
For streetlights,
yeah,
that's still in the process of them closing out. It won't close out till our genie's hooked up. We're supposed to get our formal maintenance agreement next week, which the board will have to take action
okay,
on. And then final closeout will happen sometime.
Okay. the sooner the better.
Unfortunately, we don't control the time.
We get money.
And I don't do anything with that sodas. I just help if they ask me
Okay.
help. I don't do anything otherwise.
The LWRP met last week. That was a great meeting on the 12th. There was some real concern with the changes that were happening with personnel on the part of Barton. Lejuvis, is that how you say it? Lejuvis. They did a great job of getting it back on track. I believe that it will complete next year on time. We're a little bit behind, but not enough to say so. By the first of the fall, I believe we'll be back on track. The community meeting is expected to be held the end of summer, which would put us on course to complete the LWRP on schedule. Willow Park, I met with Wayne County Visitor Center people, that's the official name. Alice, Bill, Bob Jones, Linda Michelson, and myself. We went over all the things, and I thought that I had submitted what the hours would be for them. Did we receive any money from the town of Sodus for that last year through the pandemic? It's my understanding that we usually get $1,500 from them.
I don't think we did that. did we?
Okay, if I could get a report on that, but anyways, and I do think that we should be maybe looking at Wayne County Tourism to give us a hand on that. But with that being said, they need a refrigerator that's small. I found one for less than $125. They're gonna need cleaning and dusting, mopping floors to be done by the village. So the proposed hours of operation for 2022 would be 7 hours per day through the month of June, or they would begin on Memorial Weekend. The month of June, it would be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. July would be Thursday through Sunday, August, Thursday through Sunday. And holiday weekends, which is just Labor Day and Memorial Day, Thursday through Monday. If after Labor Day you think it's worthwhile, the Fall Splash Festivals in September and October, there would be 7 hours on those events. And the impact on the budget, if we did 413 hours of operation for the normal amount, it would be 56, 58, 10. If you added in 56 hours, it'd be another 767.20. I know that there would be 5 hours of cleaning to open and maintain would be $175. I'd like to make a motion that we approve not to exceed $7,000 for.
That's actually under the old business, where we'll take action on that.
Oh, okay,
And,
so,
and the hours are in the packet for that.
okay. Well, I didn't see those. Oh, I gave you the packets, right. So 413 is the normal. And that they've done before. If we took last year's, they were quite a bit under budgeted because they didn't open half of the time. And I've given you Bob Jones' report in regard to how many people they saw last year on a part-time basis. And it was very limited last year. I don't think there were 300 hours, were there 310 maybe?
No idea.
So anyways, it was a great meeting. The mayor conference, I attended that for 3 days. I would encourage all members of the board to attend any of these conferences that they can. I also think that it would be really great if Tracy and maybe even Kevin were able to go to that one. It was an outstanding seminar. I realized how many things we were doing that we were doing well. I also saw some opportunities for improvement, and I'm excited about that. I sent a CPA review information to all board members. I spoke with Dave, and he plans to get in touch with a firm from Oswego, as well as the rest of those. I requested information from the CEO in regard to a property violation. And I have not heard on that. But there was a planning board meeting the other night, and I believe that's on the way to being addressed. And I think it's in Art's hands. Is that correct?
It's to be issued an appearance ticket, I believe. It had to go back to the planning board, and it did. That was the normal route.
I'm trying to understand when the planning board had already spoken and they didn't move off of their decision, why that would have to go back. And if Kevin wasn't concerned about it, why it wouldn't go right to you?
The only time it goes to me if there's an issue, and I've had dialogue with Kevin routinely on this. And there were issues that were open-ended, so it had to go back to the planning board, and it followed that route. Wound up there last week, and the consensus of the planning board was there should be enforcement, which will now take place. But it was the planning board's written minutes that was based on. So we have to work through that to get to where we are now.
There is concern on my part that we stick Kevin out there for things and he doesn't have the proper information on that. And I don't think that was his role to make the decision, but I did believe that it should go to the attorney.
Well, to be clear, it did. I have dialogue with Kevin multiple times every week on a variety of issues. So he and I work very closely on a lot of things. And the issue that you're referring to progressed in a timely fashion. And when issues are brought to me, I decide them, I get them back to Kevin. Kevin's the CEO. He refers it to the planning board. There's nothing in this process that would have gone any quicker.
I did not receive anything as commissioner on that, not from any of that. So
Well, to be clear again, you're a commissioner, yes, but I work with the mayor, the board, the trustees.
okay,
If you want me to include you in a
yes,
telephone call,
no,
but that's what 99% of my work is with Kevin. He calls 8 in the morning, 8 at night. I bet you we've talked 5 times in the last week.
okay, great.
So you're not going to be included in those conversations because they're telephone. Emails, everybody's included on. They're all public records and foilable.
Okay,
If there's an email, I can certainly copy you in, but 99% of what I do is over the phone.
a simple thing would have been, it has been referred back to the planning board. It appeared to have, to the people that I represent, that the buck had been passed and it stopped with you.
All you had to do was call and ask and would have found out exactly where we are.
Okay, great. I did send a letter and I still haven't heard an answer from her.
I responded a long time ago on the last email I ever got from you.
When was that?
There was weeks and weeks ago.
No, I sent an email last week.
Well, put it with a signed receipt because I didn't get one.
Okay, I'll make sure you do. Going on to the planning board, I'd like to thank everybody that's been taking their training. I was in the office the other day and Tracy had records of 10 hours of training for the planning board and 5 hours of municipal training for the zoning board. And I think that's really an improvement. So I wanted to say thank you. And I will be sending out a remembrance to continue the good work.
Thank you, Kevin.
For last month, I had 6 new permits issued. We only had 2 new reviews that we're doing, but we finished up quite a few other ones. So total fees generated was 570. And we're working through a property violation like Art, what we were talking about right now.
Okay, public comments first in the room. Yes.
Hello, I'm Elaine Ellis from Gardner Lane. My first concern is Lakeview Landscaping and what they did on Greg Street. I belong to 2 garden clubs and I've never seen anything like what they have done. They cut the grasses finally. They are not even. They did not rake. They left all of the debris there. This is in front of our storefronts where everybody, excuse me, where everybody walks, and the benches are wonderful. I think the whole street is wonderful. But the landscaping is more than shoddy. I know you've had complaints because a lot of the garden club has expressed their concerns. So I don't know what we can do to get that fixed.
That was included in the highway report where we are contracting with a firm to do the cleanup and the remulching.
And I talked to Brad and it wasn't going well. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. The next one I had was the bathroom, and that's all taken care of. New businesses. Things are going well for our new businesses. One of the things I saw at the information center was old information. I know a lot of it comes from the state of New York, but I'm on Alice Bill's tail to get better information from tourism. And I also think that our new businesses should be sending her a lot of things. The church. Am I allowed to know who bought the church?
We don't know yet. We don't have a transfer. We
Okay,
don't know until we get a transfer.
okay,
Once we get it, then it becomes public record.
okay. My next one is the street lights got broken in the winter. All of the plastic is off. Quite a few lights. I walk the dog every day, so I can tell you what pole doesn't have this and that. Do I tell the highway department?
You can, but they've already been reported.
Okay, so it's a done deal.
We just got to get them here to fix them.
Who's gonna fix it?
We're in the midst of the conversion project, so we don't have a maintenance contractor at the moment.
Oh my,
Yeah,
okay.
that's good. That's
Really sad to put on these beautiful new lights and they're not getting fixed.
Well, they were aghast that they were all, because so many of them are open.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they were aghast, how could that happen? We're like, easy.
Wind
They didn't get put back together right.
or wind.
Well, yeah, wind, but if they're put back together right, that wouldn't happen.
It's not like we have kids that run around and throw stones at them, so. What else do I have? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here? Yep.
We've been working, a group of citizens have been meeting as we attend these meetings, and also have been listening to the Zoom, and even including the special meetings. Been concerned about a couple of things that have made us come to the conclusion that we need to form a watchdog group for some of the actions that are occurring
within these meetings, there's an agreement that we need to have accountability from government. One example of what we observed in the last couple of months, excuse me, was the process that happened with the rebuilding of the fire hall. There was a claim that there was 4 months of bids going out. I work really closely with the construction industry. If there were 4 months of bids going out or attempt to contact contractors. As the research was done later, it was found out that no local contractors had been contacted. They were very angry about this. 2 contractors did bid who were 3 hours away. And the bids came in at $13,800 higher than the local bids would have come in. This appears, and the 2 bids were together in price, and also were close friends of the trustee who put the bids out. So the concern is that it looks like it was of some form of bid rigging or collusion with a board member for this work. I'm hoping it's not true, but that's the way it looks. When it was brought to the board, both the mayor and the clerk protested that this was illegal. And it was driven through. A motion was made and it was driven through despite the protest, including the code enforcement officer leaving the meeting in protest that evening. We're really concerned about this. It's not the way government can be run, especially in a small community like this. There's got to be accountability. Several of the trustees ran on platforms of accountability and transparency. This is not it. So we formed a group that we're going to call the Watchdog Group, and we're going to continue to track these actions. Honestly, if the investigation turns out the way it should be, this should go to the sheriff's department for the fraud department. Start with you when we're ready.
Any other people here in the room that want to speak? Anybody?
Those are some strong accusations. I mean, we have a purchasing policy. I think government has a set purchasing policy. If a trustee was allowed to go down a path and somebody, the clerk or the mayor didn't say, address, you can't do that. This is how we have to do it. Then it's governance. I mean, we need better governance. All right, if we have a new trustee, what?
Did you watch that meeting?
I missed that meeting, but the fact that it got that far down the road and there was 4 months, 4 months to get 2 bids, and then for you to make that accusation, we have governance here. We have a mayor, we have a clerk. They have to be responsible to guide a new trustee. That is slander.
We also. have
That
a
guy there is.
lawyer.
All right, we're not gonna have this
Oh,
argument.
you know what? There's been other issues in this village, and I've been vocal about it, but for him to sit up here and say that when we have purchasing policies and somebody could say, you can't do that because of purchasing policy. You know what? Develop a bid, develop a scope of work, put it out to bid for the public and follow the process. All right. He wasn't guided to do that. You let him go down that path. And for him to sit here and make that accusation, that's a bunch of bullshit.
All right.
I'd just like to make one comment. Dave, you can clear this up as to what you directed Bud to do. And that there was you made some mistakes in what you told him.
I told him he did not need a bid spec because I expected it to be under $20,000. And I had no communication in between. So I had no idea until I received them that they were around 40 grand.
One of the things that I would like to explain as a 15-month board member is that you come onto the board, you're expected to know all these things, and you don't. I know a lot, and I've been able to find out a lot. And yes, I was pretty sure what we were going to do wasn't going to fly because we didn't have the authority the way I made the motion. Okay. But usually what we do in the field of transparency is we put one out for $7,000. We put one out for $19,995.99. We do all these things so that we can award it to our local people. I have concerns about that. That's a legal way of promoting your friends. And maybe these people have done a great job in the past, but when you let a new board member go down that path and you don't correct it when you figure it out, and I didn't know it was an insurance claim. Last year, we had everything piecemealed. This year, we did not. We lumped it because that's the way it was. It was wrong. We made a mistake. I helped make it. I facilitated the motion. But is there anything illegal about what we did? Absolutely not, because Dave and Tracy pulled it back. And I've already checked with NICOM. You check with NICOM. We corrected the error. But is this the way to do business? Absolutely not. I have been trying for a year to get planning board information to find out how you advertise things to the public so that they can all bid on it. And I am well within the law on that. We have not been in the law for that for the last 5 years. The planning board was supposed to have 4 hours of training, and I fought tooth and nail to get it. So that's just one of the ways that are going on. We're trying to bring it back around, and yes, full transparency. And you were able to watch that on a Zoom meeting because this board decided Zoom meetings were transparent. And so it's both. You get your watchdogs, it's okay with me because that keeps you honest. But the one thing I want to explain to you is don't divide this community. This community is a wonderful community. Get us all brought together. Don't try to put neighbor against neighbor. That's wrong. Thank you.
I'd like to take 2 seconds to address that. Obviously, this is about me. I have every text message, every email that was sent back and forth from the mayor to myself, to Kevin, myself, the other trustees, myself. It's all available. You can FOIL act it. You can get it right off my phone. You can take a look. There's nothing hidden there, and I keep every single one. Secondly, the reason the process took so long is because we couldn't get anybody to call us back. Okay. As far as the people outside of local, okay, Kevin gave me a list of what, 6, 7 names. I called every single one. Not one called me back in 2 months' time. Not one called me back. The one I did speak to was too busy, had no chance, no how, couldn't do any work. The 2 that I got, yes, one is a friend of mine. They do commercial work. Absolutely. I called them up, said, hey, how busy are you? How soon could you get here? Because we had an emergency situation. The other one had just done the fire hall in Pultenville, and I knew of them. So I gave them a call, and they were able to get right down and give a quote. That's how that turned out. They're not both personal friends of mine. As far as the mechanicals, 3 hours away, you know what? I called everybody, and they're who responded. I don't decide who responds for that stuff. And the reason the prices were different is because after the fact, after we had our emergency meeting and things came together the way they did, the board and the mayor decided to break it down individually and try to make it cheaper, because I had consulted with the village attorney to see if here's our numbers, and through his advice said if it hits these numbers and it's this many people, then it has to be bid at rate job. That's why the numbers were what they were. That's why they were inflated prices, because they were bid at rate because of the X amount of people and the scope of work being done.
At rate being prevailing wage.
So that's the way things came about. For somebody to make an accusation to me that I'm doing something shady to promote somebody else's business or do something, I've got thick skin and I can take anything, but come to me with your accusation, have a conversation first. Go start your watchdog group at your own house. That's all I got to say on that.
I have a question. Was anything done illegal?
No, because they canceled the bids and rebid it.
Okay.
And Dave couldn't just cancel the bids by himself.
Right.
We had to go along with it.
So I take that back. Kudos to Dave for sending those bids and.
Yeah.
So that's good governance.
And he did tell us that's illegal, but he couldn't tell us why. Nobody could say why. Art wasn't there. We didn't have a referral. And quite frankly, it's over. And we need to move on.
Anybody on Zoom want to comment? All right, we will close public comment. Under old business, we're talking about Willow Park information booth, restrooms and camera, most of which I think we've already talked about, but we do need to decide what we're doing with the people that sit at the information center.
And did they get a pay raise by any chance?
They told me that their pay rate is fine. They're making 13.20 and 13.70. Is that correct, Ruth?
It's usually minimum wage.
This is all based on 1370, right?
Right. And I did that because I knew there'd be probably social security or something taken out. So I just rounded it up to not to exceed $7,000.
The budget is $4,000.
Well, the budget is too low. It should at least be 56, 58 to get us through fall. I mean,
Budget must be an old budget.
Well, no, it's the one we just set.
but what we just said it, but I remember saying, is there gonna be enough for the visitor center to do what they need to do? And I assumed it would be back at the route that they were before. I guess I assumed wrong.
There's gotta be money left over from last year.
There- We get $1,500 from SOTUS. So I don't see any reason why. I move that we accept the summer operating hours of 413 hours at 413 hours of operation, a refrigerator not to exceed $125, and 5 hours of cleaning to open and maintain at $175, not to exceed $6,000 for the year. And if we want to open up the rest of it, we can decide that when splash becomes an item.
Where's the money gonna come from?
It can come out of my parks budget if I need it.
Go fund me.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Uh,
All those against?
Yeah, I'd really like to know where the money's coming from. I understand. I don't have a problem with the circumstances, but it's been real easy to dip into funds that we haven't talked about and take them from Peter and rob Peter and pay Paul and move things around and I just, is it coming out of the general fund? Where's it coming from? The extra, that's all. What, $3,000 approximately?
no,
No,
No, it's,
and it's 1,500 from the town of.
Yeah, but if-
That's in the revenue side. That's already.
Well, you never disclosed that in the past either.
It's the budget that you just passed.
I understand that, but
The
we have never
revenue-
been told that the money came from somewhere else, because if it comes from somewhere else, then perhaps we need to go and find and see Scott and get it. But at this point in time, the budget, they need to open Memorial Weekend, right? For 4 days.
I just don't think it's good practice to start at the beginning of the new budget year overspending. But
Well,
that's-
in this
that's my
instance, it
recommendation.
goes to
That's what our
us.
treasurer-
In this instance, it goes to people within the community that work their tails off to take care of the people. I don't know, I mean, I'm gonna bring it back next month, but it'll be too late.
we can authorize they open Memorial Day and then we authorize from the rest of June on the 16th when we meet.
The rest of June at 3 days or 2 days.
I don't know. We can figure that out when we sort out where we can find money.
All right, then what is it so far?
Let me finish. I'm not against it. I want you to understand that. I think it's probably one of the few viable things. It's nice that it comes back. People have a lot of input with it, but it's just nice to know where it's coming from, and we'll get it ironed out.
I am disappointed in you, I'll be real honest with you. I have supported everything you've ever asked for everything.
This isn't where you butter your bread one side so somebody else butters theirs, okay?
I
It's a feeling.
understand that,
It's a feeling.
but it's a
That's my
feeling
personal
that
my
last
personal
time the
thought.
people were up in arms because we had cut it. We got a lot of flack from the community and the people we represent, and this isn't this much money to be fighting over.
You're right.
It's
You're right, and-
tourism.
And I'm
It's
not,
tourism. We're gonna do a splash. We're gonna do all these things that are wonderful, but we're not going to take care of the people that take care of the visitor center. Give me a break.
Nobody said that. You're interpreting that. And if this were done last month, we would have ironed it out already.
Very good.
I think it's important that they open Memorial Day, so if you wanted to amend your motion to work for 3 or 4 days on Memorial Day, whatever the plan was, I think we could easily pass that. And then we could deal with the rest of the year in June.
So how about if we do it through July 4th, which would be 4 hours. Let's see, 4 days on Memorial Weekend is 28. And then June has 5 weeks, I believe, let me see. At 3 days.
Dave, am I allowed to ask a question?
Sure.
Does the state of New York tourism apply any money to any of these small venues?
Not that I'm aware of.
We can ask. We can go through Senator Pam Helming.
We just talked to her today about it, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
42 hours gets us through, or 40, I'm sorry. That's incorrect. I move that we open the village visitor center or the state visitor center, the county visitor center, whatever it is, starting with Memorial Weekend, allowing 2 days for cleaning, a refrigerator for $125, and that it is open 3 days a week until 4th of July, and then it is open through the holiday weekend, starting on Thursday through Monday. And that'll get us through so we can have the next one.
How many hours is that?
Does the town of Sodas have an information booth, a tourism booth? They do not. So Scott Johnson owes us more money. More than 1,500.
I don't think anybody's ever asked them for a raise, probably. I don't know, maybe we have. From 1,500. For 16 years.
Right now, David.
Yeah, that's maybe one of the places we can get money.
Well, I think we should do that. We put up a light for him, so.
They get 144 hours.
Okay. And that over and above the cleaning and that sort of thing. And then I got a couple of more questions that came from Mass. Okay, so I move that we accept 144 hours. We'll let them figure out the operation. 16 hours of cleaning. Or no, 14 hours of cleaning. And if they need it. And a refrigerator for $125.
So 158 hours times 13 seconds. Right?
Yep.
Want to second that one, Bud?
Sure, I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Dave, how much did that come out to? That's half a year, half a summer.
I didn't do the math. What is it? 158
13.
times 13.7.
1370 times 158 plus $125.
$2300. $2289.
Thank you.
Yeah, they will still leave 1711 to work with.
Plus. It's not saying that we can't come up with a balance, but we'll
Yeah.
have an
Now we got
idea
some
of
time
where
to
it's
do it.
at, exactly.
In the meantime, I will go see Scott. And I will also go with the Lions, see if I can found up anything. The other thing that I had was a note from Kathy Beretta. And I remember the other lady, and I think I brought that. Concern, when I spoke to you, Dave, we were talking about painting and I think I brought this up at the last meeting, painting the place,
Yep.
the visitor center. And you said that Bruce Terry was willing to do the building of it, the repairs.
I don't recall ever saying that. I didn't go back and listen, but I understand Mary Lou has asked him to donate materials and he said he will. And Kevin is going to work with his foreman on a list of what should be done there.
Okay, so the boards need to be identified according to them, and I'll give you this, Kevin, window frames.
We have it.
Okay,
We
you
were
have
happy
that.
as well. We've
Okay.
already responded to it. And
Okay, great. Okay, so that's gonna be all taken care
yes, it'll probably take some time, but it'll all be taken care
of. Okay,
of. I don't know who's gonna paint, but we'll figure that out once we.
Well, I
get it
have-
repaired.
okay. And then, you said the camera's coming up and the restrooms had some leaks and the village is repairing that and that's ready to go.
All right. New business. We have 2 quotes for raising the control.
Oh, wait a
panel.
minute, I got 2 more things in the old business. I got a call today about the bird feeder on 3rd or 4th Street. And it's whoever it is that's doing it, we all know it. They said it is all over the road. When I was at NICOM, I was told that that is illegal and that code enforcement can do something about that. And so that came out today and it reminded me that I had asked somebody about what do you do about this? And it isn't just call the police. We need to do something again.
We don't have a code that supports that.
So, hold.
No, the state
So I
law
can
is.
answer it. So it'd be under property maintenance, and you'd be doing road and harborage, or you'd be doing sanitation. And from what I've been told by Albany, from building standards and code, I am to put it back on our police to ticket it, because that's the fastest way to handle it. Under what I've talked, we've already been through this process multiple times. But if it's in the road, I mean, I've been through there and it hasn't
They
changed.
said there is poop all over the road. It's become a.
Yeah, I mean, this
I
is-
don't know of any violation of vehicle and traffic law for having bird seed in the highway.
Bird seed or bird crap.
And all the Amish would be arrested for taking buggies down the road. I don't know of any violation. I know that you can't plow snow into a public street. But the fact that there's bird
How about
waste and
grass?
feed in the road, I could be wrong, but I don't see where that violates anything in the vehicle and traffic law. There's nothing in the village code that addresses that issue. So the only enforcement that we have is call and get tickets issued. And we'll go right back through court like we did twice before. The other thing that can happen, and nobody wants to do it, it's a private nuisance. If the neighbors are that upset about it, and they are, and I understand that, and they should be, they have every right to bring a civil proceeding against Mr. Antel on their own. They don't want to do that, they're going to have to deal with the criminal justice system and the process of getting tickets issued, doing all the discovery, scheduling it for trial, and going through all of that.
And the sheriff.
Which is what we're doing.
Will issue tickets. So if people are calling and it's not being responded to, I need to know that.
Okay,
And they need to call me and tell me and give me the specifics. so
okay,
I
I'll
can
send
go
you
to
what I
sheriff.
got.
And whichever deputy it is that makes the error, just so we have the names, because there was some confusion, what, 2 weeks ago with the deputy? Where
Yes,
he thought that he didn't have to ticket it and we got that corrected. So we just need to know the name of the
So do
deputy.
we get a ticket out of it then?
What do you mean, do we get it?
Are you saying the fee or?
Are we notified when those tickets are issued?
no,
No,
But when we go to court, yes.
I have to prosecute him,
Yes,
if the
you don't.
village doesn't get notice, just like if somebody, John Doe gets a speeding ticket going down through Drexel Street, you don't get notice of that either.
So how do we know when we need to go to court?
They notify him.
They
or-
notify me and the court tells me we get a trial date.
Okay, so it's based on how many tickets are issued in
No,
line?
it's based, each ticket, this gentleman will probably want a trial on each offense. They might get lumped together on trial night, but if not, there'll be separate trials during the course of the summer.
and if we get the same judge, it'll be dealt with more sternly than it was in the past.
Okay, thank you. And then, are we going to have information on the CPAs by the next meeting? Because we're closing up on the end of the
Yes.
year.
Yes,
Okay,
that's the plan.
okay, thank you.
All right, Still Road, under new business. We have 2 quotes to raise the control panel so that when the water gets down there, we don't get our control panel wet again like we did one during this spring. One quote is for $9,440.48, and one quote is for $4,825. They're both doing the same work, both using prevailing wage.
I make a motion, we go with the less of the two if it's apples to apples.
It's Connors and Haas, so it's about $4,800.
And where's that money coming out of?
It's in the wastewater budget.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I included the agenda for the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative meeting in your packets. This will cost no more than probably $1,300. So I'm just looking for,
I move that we approve the conference because I think this is an outstanding opportunity. I know you do a lot with it. So you've done writings, you've done all sorts of things that are great.
it'll be a way to meet some of the people I've been talking to. on the phone.
Right. And there's nothing like having that ability to pick up the phone.
Let me ask the question, where's that money coming from?
It's in June, so it'll come out of the mayor's education budget. I don't have any left in this year, but
You didn't go anywhere long.
no, but it's used for other things. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's time to pay the bills.
5/1 through 5/15, totaling $65,095.70. General fund, $51,223.05, water, $8,759.3, and wastewater, $5,001.
I make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We also have a resolution.
So this resolution, once I started looking at my numbers and I realized that the dollar amount that I put on with this resolution from last month, I needed to increase the dollar amount to the 11,000. That's how much we received exactly for that grant. So it's just changing the dollar amount for me to do the entry.
I make a motion, we approve the resolution. It's something that has to be done, correct?
Yes.
Well, we should read the resolution and look at one.
Just making a budget adjustment from one account to another for $11,060.
Because with
So it's an
With these
increase on revenue.
with these grants, we don't know what we're gonna receive in grant money for the revenue until it happens. And so once we received in 11,000, that offsets the LWRP grant. So we've expended. And so it's just the revenue and the expenditures.
I get it. I'll second that.
Okay, yeah, I'm a little lost in that case. You have an increase in the general fund and an increase in the appropriations fund.
Yeah, so it's just an offset. So because if you look at the
Will there be
budget
a
right now-
decrease in one and an increase in the other?
No.
Welcome to municipal county.
Yeah. No, that's, you know what I'm saying? That's how I do my checkbook. You got money over
It's
here? you got-
municipal accounting.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll second that motion, because that's over my head.
You actually voted. All in favor? All right, any others?
Tracy, you wanna fix that? Has it received a $110,000 grant? It looks, that probably should be fixed. Right, to the minutes.
Well,
Looks like something's missing there. Or we should even go to the.
10,000.
Is it 10,000?
No, 100,000, 110,000. That's the full, that's the
No.
full.
Then it should just get rid of the
Yeah, thank
space,
you.
so it doesn't look like you got,
What cost that?
no,
Mine looks fine.
that's weird.
What do you got?
Same thing she does, only different.
Different spacing.
Well, as long as it's right, yeah, it's right, that's all that matters.
Still working out the bugs.
I just wanted to make sure it was right.
Before we move on to other business, if there is any, we need to set a time for the annual meeting or the year-end meeting, which has to be on Tuesday, May 31st. And what we will do at that meeting is pass a whole bunch of resolutions like this, like we just did to move on here.
Okay,
That's all that meeting is about.
And pay the very last, we'll do one last round of bills.
that is the,
That's Tuesday the 31st.
yeah, I'll be back.
You can put it on
Okay.
private property. Like between like the side and curb.
What time is good?
Anytime's good.
It's gonna have to be after 3 for me,
Let's
If
say
that-
4 o'clock.
if that works. Yeah.
4 o'clock work. We can look for Jen, right?
She'll be open then.
Yeah.
I don't know, but she can still call in on Zoom.
Cool.
So 4 o'clock, what is
4
it?
PM on May 31st. Which is a Tuesday. Any other business?
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to say was this week from the 15th to the 16th to the 21st was EMS week. Kevin put on the board over there, if you like to drive, contact me because we have an ambulance you'll fit in. So if anybody's got a few extra minutes, would like to climb behind the wheel, we greatly appreciate it, along with some training, or if you want to be a medic. You know, like we said, we're at 91 calls right now. We're just a little bit behind last year. But we're heading in the right direction. You know, we're going back up again. So, and I want to thank everybody for their backing through the year, and away we go. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Adjourn?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Love you.